Today we're going to study SD 46.4, that's chapter 4 of the Sutta Discovery 146, the Dhammadina Sutta, which translates into English as the Discourse to Dhammadina. So Dhammadina here is the name of a lay person. Apparently this is the only place that we hear of him. The name Dhammadina is common enough. But the layman Dhammadina as a character in the sutta is probably found only here. In S55.53. Now this sutta is a very short sutta. It's about stream winning, it's about lay people practicing the Dhamma and attaining certain levels of awakening. And what is really interesting about this very short and simple sutta, it reflects in many ways the lay Buddhists today, very busy people and so on. And even though we are busy, we still would like to spend valuable time or quality time with the Dharma. And there's also a kind of almost a humorous turn in this sutta where this Dhammadina and his 500 friends actually tell the Buddha they are very busy people even to study the suttas. Let's see what the Buddha says about that. Okay, the translation starts on page 47. We will read through the translation and then we'll comment a bit on it. The Discourse to Dhammadina, S55.53. At one time the Blessed One was staying at the deer park in Isipatana outside Benares. So here is a typical place where one of the famous locales for the Buddha's teaching, and this is very historic in the sense that this is the first place where the Buddha used to teach give his teachings in the deer park. There are a number of deer parks in the suttas. This one is near, or rather in a place called Isipatana, which is outside Benares. Benares is the big city. So the Buddha rarely teaches or lives in a big city. He would usually stay in a quiet, in a forest place outside the city. This is a very important characteristic of the Buddha. He avoids crowds. Of course, in our own times, it's not so easy, not so simple, not so easy to find a quiet place in the suburbs or outside the cities. So very often you find centers or even temples in the city itself. Ideally, a proper retreat center or even a temple would be outside of a city. So in other words, it's not like a church at all. It's not meant for community gatherings and some kind of to strengthen the community, although that is possible for a Buddhist temple to do it. The lay Buddhist temples often do this. You can see this happening because the lay Buddhist temples are usually built in the cities. But here we're talking about a place where the Buddha lives. It's a place of meditation, a place of learning, a place of spiritual development. So this kind of place being very quiet, away from the crowd, among the beautiful trees and forests, and in this case, deer, very gentle animals. These are probably small little spotted deers which you can still see in India today. Okay, let's continue in section. Paragraph 2. Then the lay disciple Dhammadina, along with 500 lay disciples, approached the Blessed One, saluted him, and sat down at one side. So here we have this layman. He's one of those few lay people who have 500 followers or close friends. And there's something very interesting about this person. It's not just someone with a big following, he's a very spiritual person. So sitting there at one side, the lay disciple Dhammadina said this to the Blessed One. May the Blessed One advise us, Bhante. May the Blessed One instruct us, Bhante, in what is for our good and joy for a long time. Notice what the Dhamma is for, the good and the joy, our good, our joy for a long time. Good, joy. There are two very important aspects of the Dharma. If someone asks us, so what's so great about the Dharma? Or what is the purpose of the Dharma? Even we can answer by saying the Dharma helps us to understand and do what is good and to feel happy and joyful about it. And then we are looking at this in terms of, in literary terms, we can call this the truth and beauty aspect of Buddhism, of the Dharma. And beauty and truth, as you know, are kind of like twin pillars of literature itself. So we can see here a very interesting parallel between good literature and spirituality. To be a Buddhist is to understand what is the truth, because the truth is good. And it is good, if it is good, it also brings joy to us. So these two go together. Right, so the Buddha replies, in that case, Dhammadina, you should all train yourselves thus. From time to time, we will take up and dwell in suttas or discourses spoken by the Tathagata that are profound, deep in meaning, supramundane or beyond the world, or if you like, spiritual, supramundane, and relating to emptiness. Okay, emptiness here, if you like, is a layman term for letting go, understanding the nature of impermanence, understanding the nature of unsatisfactoriness, and the nature of non-self. So this is the actual teaching that the Buddha has given here. So you can even highlight this part of the sutta if you like. This is the thesis, if you like. However, we have a very interesting reaction from the lay disciples from Dhammadina and his friends. The Buddha says, thus Dhammadina, you should train yourself. Dhammadina replies, but Bhante, we dwell in a home crowded with children. We enjoy kasi sandalwood. We wear garlands, scents, and makeup. We enjoy gold and silver, or jewelry and money. It is not easy for us to take up and dwell in these suttas spoken by the Tathagata that are profound, deep in meaning, supramundane, beyond the world, relating to emptiness. Teach us, Bhante, higher Dhamma, for we have been established in the 5 training rules. Okay, so this is the a sort of a antithesis, a kind of opposite situation from what the Buddha has taught. It's almost like this. People telling the Buddha, oh no, that's too difficult for us, no, we can't do that. It's almost like as if they are going against the Buddha's instruction, so it seems. And it's very interesting how the Buddha responds to this kind of reaction. We often hear this kind of reaction even today. It's even more common today, if you like. People will say, oh, you know, I have no time to listen to the suttas, it's so difficult, and so on and so forth. And yet, there are also people who love the sutta. I mean, we are laymen who are doing this translation work here for the last 12 years. And we enjoy, I personally enjoy, reading and translating the suttas because they are the most basic and authentic sources of the Buddha's teaching. So, it's wonderful to have the opportunity to learn the Dharma through the suttas. At the same time, we have to consider people who are also busy, who do not have the time to study the suttas because of various kinds of commitments. So here, of course, in the case of Dhammadina, it is not that he is not interested in the suttas, not at all, because we will discover that Dhammadina and his friends, they are actually stream winners. We will see that in a little while. So they have been practicing in some way. So it's not that they do not want to study the suttas, but they have been practicing in some way, and now they are stream winners. So what they're saying is, so they tell the Buddha, please teach us higher Dharma, something a little further than what they know at that time. Now higher Dharma here is not Abhidharma, it's Uttari Dhamma, something higher. Meaning something related to the present state as a stream winner. So here we should not read the sutta wrongly as misconstruing it to mean we don't really need to study the suttas, because here we have Dhammadina telling the Buddha, almost like telling the Buddha off, saying, look, we're too busy, we have no time to study the suttas. So that's not the real import of this sutta. It is saying that even laymen can be stream winners. That's the first point. Even lay people, and this is very important, can awaken in this life as saints, the first stage, stream winners. Busy lay people, right? And of course we can go further and say for the laity, they can work with the Dharma through mindfulness, keeping the precepts, up to the point of what's called one's return. So they can be stream winners and one's returners. However, on the other two levels, non-returners and arahats, they need to go deeper into dhyana meditation to overcome sensual desire, in other words, being bogged down, being attached to the senses. Because the senses are very demanding. They demand our attention so much that we will not be able to rise above the body. But even then, we can, in our present state as lay people, get that peace of mind where we do enjoy our five senses, or with the mind as a sixth. At the same time, we are not enslaved by this kind of enjoyment. We know when to stop, in other words. So the precepts are about knowing when to stop. Okay, so there is this kind of balance for a layperson. Of course, there's a little price for that. You won't be able to be a non-returner or an arahat, but that will happen in due course in the next life or future lives. So in this life, we will like finish off this our karmic energies, and then we move on from that. Okay, of course, the lifespan of such saints can be very long, so long that you probably will meet the next Buddha. And if you do meet the next Buddha, as a stream winner, it will be very easy to understand his teachings. So we have that kind of situation. Meantime, as stream winners, we will never mess ourselves up, to put it very simply. In other words, we more or less, even without the Buddha around, we will know. We have this something called common sense that this is wrong and this should not be done, but this something else can be done, and so on. We have that conscience and sense of right and wrong, in other words. So this is the nature of the stream winner. Okay, then the Buddha continues. The Buddha says, in that case, Dhammadina, you all should train yourself in this way. Alright, here you can see this is the teaching the Buddha gives to the Dhammadina and the 500 friends. You have four qualities here with the round brackets. The first one, we shall be accomplished in wise faith in the Buddha thus. So too is he, the Blessed One, or the Lord if you like, for he is an arahat, fully self-awakened, accomplished in wisdom and conduct, welfarer, knower of woes, peerless guide of tameable persons, teacher of gods and humans, awakened, blessed. These are the 9 virtues of the Buddha. And these are meant for Buddha-nusati, reflecting on the qualities of the Buddha. So what is Buddha-nusati about? It is to see the Buddha as the ideal of awakening, ideal of human awakening especially. It means that we as a human being are able to attain full awakening just as the Buddha did. And the Buddha is our ideal to show that this is possible. We don't even need to be religious We don't need, in fact we should not be worshipping an external agency, something like a god or some spirit or some essence. We just need to look within ourselves to understand how our mind works and the impermanence of our body and so on. So the Buddha was a human being, when he passed away as the Buddha, no more to be reborn, no more suffering. So we reflect in that way. Okay, this is a kind of oversimplification. There are these 9 qualities we can reflect on. So this is the first higher Dharma that the Buddha is telling the Dhammadina and his final friends to practice. Number 2, the Buddha says, we shall be accomplished in wise faith in the Dharma. Notice, wise faith in the Dharma thus. Well taught is the true teaching of the Blessed One, to be self-realized, timeless, for one to come and see, accessible, leading onward, to be personally known by the wise. So these are the 6 qualities or 6 virtues of the Dharma. So this is called Dhammanusati, recollection of the Dharma. So if you are inclined, you can use the Dharma for your object of reflection and go into deeper meditation. The Dhamma, of course, is the teaching, the truth, the reality that the Buddha has discovered, and which he himself respects and places above himself. In other words, he stresses the fact that he is not a guru. He is merely someone who points out the way, like a guide. We are like co-travelers, and here is this guy telling us this is the right way to go, this is how we should travel, and these are the things you should take with yourself, and so on and so forth. And he is a good map reader, good map maker. He has done the journey. So, and this is his the Buddha's guidebook, if you like. His user's manual, whatever you like to call it, the Dharma. The Dharma is the teaching, in other words, his experience of reality, and it is that true reality itself. So, in other words, we need to see this true reality directly for ourselves, and that is possible. Then number 3, the Buddha continues, he says, we shall be accomplished in wise faith in the Sangha. Thus, of good conduct is the Blessed One's community of holy disciples. Of upright conduct is the Blessed One's community of holy disciples. Of right conduct is the Blessed One's community of holy disciples. Of proper conduct is the Blessed One's community of holy disciples. These 4 persons, the 8 individuals, are the Blessed One's community of holy disciples, worthy of offerings, worthy of hospitality, worthy of gifts, worthy of salutation with the lotus palms, an incomparable field of merit for the world. So here the Buddha has listed 9 qualities of the Sangha. This is the community of noble ones, the saints, the string-winners, the one-returners, the non-returners, and the arahats. These saints come from laymen, laywomen, monks, and nuns. So this is the noble Sangha. In other words, this is the true community of saints of the path. This is not the conventional Sangha. The conventional Sangha, they are not awakened, they are ordained monks and nuns who are supposed to train themselves to awaken or to at least attain stream winning in this life. So this third jewel, these are the 3 jewels in fact, the Sangha represents our goal. In other words, we can become a member of this wonderful community through our own actions, and if we do, we're not alone. Okay? The Buddha represents the aloneness in spirituality that we need in our most important moments in life. We face all kinds of challenges when we would want to live a spiritual life, and when we meditate on all these important moments in our life, we are practically alone, and we should not be afraid to be alone. We should reflect on the aloneness of the Buddha, sitting radiant and alone and courageous, in the dark night, but he is radiant sitting under the Bodhi tree. But here we have the community. There are others who walk along the path and who are awakened or going to be awakened or sure of awakening, the streamers onwards. So this is the Sangha. And then the fourth quality is that of moral virtue itself. The Buddha says, we shall be accomplished in moral virtue dear to the noble ones, unbroken, untorn, unmixed, spotless, liberating, praised by the wise, untarnished, giving rise to concentration. Thus, Dhammadina, you should train yourself. Now, this is a very important section or paragraph which talks about moral virtue. The first three express wise faith, and this fourth quality, if you like, wise action. So the precepts here, like in the case of the notice, in the case of Dhammadina, it says we have been established in the 5 training rules, so it's keeping the 5 precepts. So here the Buddha is saying you should go on keeping these 5 precepts. And this is what the saints, the arahats especially, rejoice and feel they approve of this. They're very happy because they themselves are pure and awakened. The precept should be unbroken, untorn. Now these two words, they come from the figure of cloth, the imagery of cloth. The cloth is useful and good, it is unbroken, untorn. So our precept should be kept in that way. Unbroken, in other words, do not break it, and untorn, not even in a small way. And unmixed, spotless. So this pair of figures come from that of a cow. The skin of a cow, the color of a cow, of two kinds. One is they have mixed colors, and the other is they have spots on them. So here unmixed, in other words, there's no kind of confusion about the precepts, mixing up right and wrong, and the action is spotted, in other words, doubtful and with all kinds of uncertainties of the person's moral virtue and so on. In other words, a morally good person is straightforward and is kind of very clear and direct in a wonderful way. And the whole idea of moral virtue is not to be pure for its own sake, but rather that it liberates us in the sense of we don't have to worry about what people think about us, because we have done the right thing, we have not done any wrong. And even more important than that, we are praised by the wise. Here, in other words, others who are good, we could get along with them, and the people we know are good people, and it's wonderful to be in such company. And our lives are untarnished in the sense that we are truly morally virtuous, and this finally, and the most important of all, gives rise to concentration. The purpose of the moral life, the purpose of the precepts, is to prepare our minds for concentration, mental cultivation. How does this work? If we do not keep the precepts, and this is what often happens in modern psychological systems where they have kind of adapted meditation to their kind of practice, so they don't talk about precepts. So you find it's not going to be easy for them to really practice. They wouldn't get the whole benefit of Buddhist meditation. Thoughts will come. They might feel guilty, they might feel remorseful, they might worry about something they've done in the past will come back. So here, if we keep our precepts well and we understand the nature of precepts, and doing loving kindness practice is really helpful in the practice of the precept. Because if you are really full of loving kindness, you are not going to kill, you would be generous, you wouldn't violate another person, you wouldn't lie, and of course you keep your mind clear. So here, the precepts, in other words, harmonize your body and your speech so that you're able to just let them go, be settled in where your body is concerned, and then go on to deal with your mind. In other words, all your five senses, eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body, do not trouble you. You can just kind of do them alone for a while and focus on the mind. So that's the meaning of giving rise to concentration. So there you are. These are the four limbs of a stream winner, actually. Right? Faith in the Buddha, faith in the Dharma, faith in the Sangha, and the moral virtue dear to the noble ones. Alright, so the Buddha finishes his teaching, and the layman respond, and Dhammadina says, Bhante, as regards these four limbs of stream winning, notice he's the one who says these four limbs of stream winning. Nowhere in the Buddha's teaching here, in this section, does the Buddha mention that these are four limbs of stream winning. All the Buddha did was just say, okay, these are the 4 points, okay? But the Dhammadina at once recognizes that these are the 4 limbs of stream winning. And he tells, and we know why from the next sentence onwards. These states are found in us. We live committed to these states, right? So there you are. We live committed to these states. In other words, they are declaring, or rather Dhammadina is declaring on behalf of all his 500 friends that they are living in this kind of, they're living this kind of life, that of a stream winner. So then everything is repeated. Say, we Bhante have faith in the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, and our precepts are well kept. Okay? So then finally the Buddha says at the close of the sutta, this is a gain for you, Dhammadina. This is a great gain for you, Dhammadina. You have declared the fruits of stream winning. Right? So the Buddha confirms the fact that they are stream winners. So here is a very direct teaching. Here you see the Buddha talking to the stream winners, and basically what you see here, the stream winners are living a very simple life, in the sense that although they do not study the suttas, they've already attained the level of stream winning through their own earlier practice. Remember, we're not told earlier on what sort of practice they did. I've not done research on that part of their life. Probably we might look up the commentaries to see if there's any mention what they did before. So for us today, as I said, the significance of this sutta is that no matter how busy we are as lay people, we should set aside some time for the practice of attaining stream winning. Of course, in our case, because we are not yet stream winners, we may have to study the suttas. Then, in the case of Dhammadina, he has attained stream winning, so he says, okay, we're busy and we don't have time for the suttas. So after that, it's different. Because once you know the suttas very well, the spirit of the Dharma, that even if you do not study the sutta for a while, because as a lay person probably you have less time, but the Dharma is still there with you because you have passed that crucial stage where you are now stream winners. Okay? We can imagine the case of Dhammadina and his friends, they probably studied the Dhamma when they were much younger, before they were married, having families. So then, having attained the level of stream winning, then they become busy lay people, businessmen, and so on. So in that sense, this is sutta for lay people, how lay people should live and attain at least the level of stream winning. So the sutta ends there. Okay, let us close this recording, starting at this point with a short reflection. This sutta is about lay people and stream winning, and it reminds us of our task as lay practitioners. It is our purpose of practicing Buddhism. We should in this life itself, at least aspire to attain stream winning by reflecting on impermanence habitually. And if we can do this, the Buddha guarantees us in many suttas that if we habitually reflect on impermanence in this life itself, we will attain stream winning, if not definitely at the moment of passing away. Reflecting in these ways, wonderful good karma, by the power of such good karma, may we be blessed with all the blessings for a life of moral courage and wisdom, so that we will be able to aspire to attain at least stream winning in this life itself. In this moment of peace, let us also send out our loving kindness to all those people who have been kind to us, who have taught us the Dharma, and people who are dear to us. May they be well, may they be happy. And also to those whom the Dharma have not touched, may they be able to see the Dharma happily in this life itself. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.